The real flex is not what people can see. It is what you refuse to lower when nobody is checking. Most people want the better life. Better rooms, better work, better money, better body, better taste, better choices. But they keep trying to enter that life with standards that still belong to the old one. They want the crown, but they keep bending the metal. They want public proof, but they keep breaking private rules. They want the result to look expensive, while their daily choices keep getting discounted. That is where the future leaks out. Not in the big dramatic collapse. In the tiny moment where you know the standard and negotiate anyway. You probably already know what your next level requires. You do not need a stranger to tell you that the room matters. You know what your mornings do to your mind. You know what your screen habits do to your focus. You know what cheap conversations do to your ambition. You know what messy work does to your confidence. You know when your body is being trained for energy, and when it is being trained for excuses. You know when the offer is not sharp enough. You know when the content is not honest enough. You know when the plan is still mostly aesthetic. And because you know every compromise costs more than it looks like. On the outside it seems small. One skipped hour. One sloppy promise. One weak boundary. One unfinished draft. One yes that should have been no. One standard lowered because you did not want the tension. But inside the builder notices. The future version of you is always listening to the way you bargain. It hears when you say, this one does not matter. It hears when you say, I will tighten it later. It hears when you say, nobody will know. And slowly your identity learns the truth. Not the truth you post. The truth you practice. That is why standards are not decoration. They are instruction. Every standard tells your nervous system what kind of person you are becoming. Every lowered standard tells it what kind of life you are still willing to tolerate. In the forge, weak metal cannot carry a crown. The crown is not placed on whatever shines. The smith does not choose the piece because it looks good near the fire. He tests it. He heats it. He strikes it. He watches what bends. He watches what breaks. He watches what keeps its form under pressure. That is the difference between image and standard. Image wants to look refined. Standard wants to become refined. Image asks, how will this be perceived? Standard asks, what does this require from me when there is no audience? Image wants the room to admire the crown. Standard keeps returning the metal to the fire until it can hold the weight. Most people confuse standards with taste. Taste is what you prefer. Standards are what you enforce. Taste says, I like clean work. Standard says, I will not ship careless work with my name on it. Taste says, I like disciplined people. Standard says, I do not keep giving access to conversations that make me smaller. Taste says, I want a better body. Standard says, I do not keep betraying the energy my work needs. Taste says, I want a serious business. Standard says, I do the boring revenue work before I reward myself with planning. The private builder has to understand this. A dream life is not built from wishes. It is built from tolerated and untolerated things. What you tolerate becomes the room. What you refuse becomes the door. The few are not special because they want more. Everybody wants more. The few are different because they stop calling every private compromise harmless. They stop pretending a low standard is self-compassion. They stop confusing ease with alignment. They stop using future ambition to excuse present looseness. They become difficult in the right places. Not dramatic. Not loud. Not performative. Difficult to distract. Difficult to cheapen. Difficult to pull into rooms that cost them clarity. Difficult to convince that almost is enough. That is what a real standard does. It protects the version of you that is still being forged. For the next 24 hours, do not raise every standard. That becomes theater. Choose one. One standard you have been discounting. Not the one that sounds impressive. The one you already know. The one that keeps returning in the quiet. Maybe the standard is the first hour of the day. No phone before the work has a pulse. Maybe the standard is the quality of the draft. No posting just to prove you are active. Maybe the standard is your environment. No casual access for people who only understand the old version of you. Maybe the standard is your body. No treating low energy like a mystery when the habits are obvious. Maybe the standard is your offer. No hiding behind content when the market needs a clear thing to buy. Write the standard in one sentence. Not a vague intention. A rule. I do not start the day by giving my mind away. I do not publish work I would not want attached to my name in 6 months. I do not keep explaining a higher life to people committed to the lower room. I do not let tiredness become an identity when my habits created it. I do not call planning progress when the next sales action is obvious. Then enforce it once. One clean act. No announcement. No motivational ceremony. No long reset. Just one private enforcement. This is how standards become real. Not when they sound good. When they cost you something small and you still keep them. You close the app. You rewrite the weak line. You leave the conversation. You prepare the workspace. You send the offer. You finish the hour. The crown is not forged in your imagination. It is forged in the little refusal. The refusal to make the old life comfortable. The refusal to keep selling your future for a cheaper feeling. The refusal to call a lowered standard maturity when it is really fear of tension. That is the work. You do not need to look richer than your standards. You do not need to perform a dream life your private habits cannot hold. You need one standard kept with force. One place where the old version reaches for a discount and you say no. Let the world chase the visible flex. You build the invisible one. Higher room, cleaner work, sharper boundaries, stronger body, quieter confidence. The crown will come later. First, become the metal that can carry it. Today, name the standard. Enforce it once. Do not bend cheaply.